For Linkara and me. For now. Barbara Leslie stood impatiently in her classroom and looked at the clock. It was already 3:45 and her student was late. This was infuriating. How much more of this was she supposed to take? Already at the school had completely emptied out, except for the janitor, and it was Friday. She was supposed to be enjoying her weekend. Her husband of 15 years was planning a romantic dinner at home, and she was having to play babysitter for Tyrone Lincoln, of all students. Tyrone Lincoln, resident bad boy of the school, Mr. Popularity. Well, she was tired of his antics, and was here to make sure he wasn't just going to slide by on his football prowess. He knew damn well that he was facing expulsion if he didn't come in for an hour's detention today for goofing off in her English class this afternoon. And the little monster was already half an hour late. Okay, he wasn't little. He was a monster of a teen, towering over 6 feet already, and solid muscle. But she didn't blanch. She knew these badasses fell in line when their scholarships were on the line. Now all she had to do was wait and put him through an hour of grumpy misery. Little did she know, at that moment, that 30 minutes later, she would be howling for more as he pummeled her with his big black cock. Barbara Leslie, age 44, 5'4", 38 double D, 28, 36. Long red hair, firmly in a bun. A few extra pounds, but all curves. Dresses and acts like a grade A bitch. Green eyes. Tyrone yawned as he finally entered the classroom. Grinning from ear to ears, he walked over to his desk. Although he had been tempted to show up when he was supposed to have just to have a bit more time to stare at his teacher's rack. There had been a cheerleader during lunch that had made her desire to have a little fun with him at school more than known. As such, he waited until he was done pounding that girl's ass behind the bleachers before he decided to show up. He sat down in his chair as he looked up at his enraged teacher, leaning back and letting his body get all relaxed before he spoke. "Afternoon, Miss Leslie," he said, obviously adding the slur to imply that Miss Leslie had a different orientation. "I hope I'm not too late. You and no Egyptian kind of pharaoh sent you knock-off wearing motherfucker." She almost fumed over that slur. She had heard it a dozen times before. Very funny, she thought dryly.
"You certainly are late, Mr. Lincoln,"
she said primly. She turned and walked to the class door and locked it.
"Now I want you to get your notebook and tell me where we left off about To Kill a Mockingbird earlier today."
She turned back to him to find that he hadn't moved an inch at all, and just leaned there with his cocky smile.
"Your books, please, Mr. Lincoln."
She arched an eyebrow. Tyrone burst out laughing into the air. He sat up a bit in his chair and grinned over at her, reaching into his backpack. "Are you kidding me? I don't really read that shit. I don't have time for it. I read good stuff, he said, pulling out a series of magazines from his bag and dropping them onto his desk. I hope one of them is New Day, asshole. Each one was a porno magazine, the titles revealing all to his teacher. Huge jugs, black dicks and white hose. Playboy, in fact, seemed to be the softest of all the magazines that Tyrone showed her. He just grinned at her, wondering what sort of reaction he'd get out of his busty teacher. Now, then, is there anything worthwhile you're going to be teaching me during this, or can I just fall asleep? He asked as he relaxed with his hands behind his head. Her jaw dropped in indignation at his words, and kept dropped in surprise at his choice in literature, especially the jugs and black dicks and white hose. Those girls were busty, but too chubby, and that man on the cover, she didn't think anyone could be that big.
If you think having a big phallus is going to get you anywhere in this world, you are sorely wrong. I should know.
Barbara flushed at this, suddenly realizing she hadn't mentioned anything about penises of any sorts. She quickly went on to cover her slip, at least hoping to.
Education is always important. You can't just coast by on your prowess. Accidents always happen, assuming you even make the cut.
Tyrone chuckled. Make the cut? I made the cut weeks ago. This detention doesn't mean shit as far as this school's concerned. The football team needs me, and they aren't going to let their star player get cut her off the field just because some bitch of a teacher decides I have a discipline problem. He grinned and leaned over the magazines, his hand reaching down and grabbing his package through his pants. And as for my phallus, as you call it, not getting me anywhere, well, it got me into the principal's cunt. So even if I wasn't the best player on our team, well, let's just say the principal's always wants to get a share of black meat, Tyrone said as he began stroking himself through his pants. He pushed the desk away from him, showing to Mrs. Lisley what a sign. That sizable bulge that was appearing between his legs. The words shocked her more and more. In her mind's eye, she could see the school principal, Emily Cartwright, being fucked by this young black man. In a sick way, it all made sense. She always had a very keen it just sort of cut off. Her hand went to her throat as she tried to say something, and pushed the desk out of the way. And he pushed the desk out of the way. What she saw surprised, if not intimidated her outright. This young man was massaging himself vulgarly in front of her, and the bulge he was massaging was much bigger than her husband's manhood when fully erect. She finally stammered out,
I could always give you an F. No passing maker, no scholarship.
Her words were hollow. He was going to pass anyway. Just a lower grade would lower his scholarship. And how would she ever explain justifying an F? Her words trailed off as she found her own eyes riveting to his crotch. Sorry, Leslie, but that isn't gonna happen if you know it. The school needs me on the football team, and with scholarship attached, it's going to actually start winning some trophies, Tyrone said with a grin. He looked at her and saw that she was just staring. His intent had just been to intimidate the teacher. But since she was obviously turned on by the idea of her well-hung black student stroking himself through his pants, he decided, what the fuck? What's one more person to add to his already sizable list of women he was screwing?
Wow.
You like what you see, Teach? Ooh, I'll bet you want to suck on my black pole, don't you? He asked vocally as he continued rubbing his growing Gary Coleman's arm through his jeans. Her face flushed deeply red.
I am certainly not going to suck on your big black cock.
The words escaped her mouth before she could clamp her hand over her lips. She couldn't believe she had just said that, but even as the thought about those vulgar words, the image of what his Gary Coleman's arm would be looming before her flashed through her mind. Over and over. She backed up until her butt was panted against her deck, trying to stammer out words. Comma, comma, comma. But nothing came. Something's about to come, alright? Alright, and that's the fucking end of it.